Fishers catch more than 90 million tons of seafood each year, including more than 100 species of fish and shellfish. Millions of people, from professional fishers to business owners like restaurant owners and boat builders, depend on fisheries for their livelihood. Fishing can be classified in two ways. In subsistence fishing, fishers use their catch to help meet the nutritional needs of their families or communities. In commercial fishing, fishers sell their catch for money, goods, or services. Popular subsistence and commercial fish are tuna, cod, and shrimp. Ocean fishing is also a popular recreational sport. Sport fishing can be competitive or non-competitive. In sport fishing tournaments, individuals or teams compete for prizes based on the size of a particular species caught in a specific time period. Both competitive and non-competitive sport fishers need licenses to fish and may or may not keep the caught fish. Increasingly, sport fishers practice catch and release fishing, where a fish is caught, measured, weighed, and often recorded on film before being released back to the ocean. Popular game fish caught for sport, are tuna and marlin. Whaling is a type of fishing that involves the harvesting of whales and dolphins. It has declined in popularity since the 19th century but is still a way of life for many cultures, such as those in Scandinavia, Japan, Canada, and the Caribbean. The ocean offers a wealth of fishing and whaling resources, but these resources are threatened. People have harvested so much fish and marine life for food and other products that some species have disappeared. During the 1800s and early 1900s, whalers killed thousands of whales for whale oil, wax made from boiled blubber, and ivory, whale's teeth. Some species, including the blue whale, Balænoptera musculus, and the right whale, were hunted nearly to extinction. Many species are still endangered today. In the 1960s and 1970s, catches of important food fish, such as herring in the North Sea and anchovies in the Pacific, began to drop off dramatically. Governments took notice of overfishing, harvesting more fish than the ecosystem can replenish. Fishers were forced to go farther out to sea to find fish, putting them at risk. Deep-sea fishing is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. Now, they use advanced equipment, such as electronic fish finders and large gill nets or trawling nets, to catch more fish. This means there are far fewer fish to reproduce and replenish the supply. In 1992, the collapse, or disappearance, of cod in Canada's Newfoundland Grand Banks put 40,000 fishers out of work. A ban was placed on cod fishing, and to this day, neither the cod nor the fisheries have recovered. To catch the dwindling numbers of fish, most fishers use trawl nets. They drag the nets along the seabed and across acres of ocean. These nets accidentally catch many small, young fish and mammals. Animals caught in fishing nets meant for other species are called bycatch. The fishing industry and fisheries management agencies argue about how to address the problem of bycatch and overfishing. Those involved in the fishing industry do not want to lose their jobs, while conservationists want to maintain healthy levels of fish in the ocean. A number of consumers are choosing to purchase sustainable seafood. Sustainable seafood is harvested from sources, either wild or farmed, that do not deplete the natural ecosystem. Mining and drilling. Many minerals come from the ocean. Sea salt is a mineral that has been used as a flavoring and preservative since ancient times. Sea salt has many additional minerals, such as calcium, that ordinary table salt lacks. Hydrothermal vents often form seafloor massive sulfide (SMS) deposits, which contain precious metals. These SMS deposits sit on the ocean floor, sometimes in the deep ocean and sometimes closer to the surface. New techniques are being developed to mine the seafloor for valuable minerals such as copper, lead, nickel, gold, and silver. Mining companies employ thousands of people and provide goods and services for millions more. Critics of undersea mining maintain that it disrupts the local ecology. Organisms, corals, shrimp, mussels that live on the seabed have their habitat disturbed, upsetting the food chain. In addition, destruction of habitat threatens the viability of species that have a narrow niche. Maui's dolphin, Cephalorhynchus hectori maui, for instance, is a critically endangered species native to the waters of New Zealand's North Island. The numbers of Maui's dolphin are already reduced because of bycatch. Seabed mining threatens its habitat, putting it at further risk of extinction. Oil is one of the most valuable resources taken from the ocean today. Offshore oil rigs pump petroleum from wells drilled into the continental shelf. About 1/4 of all oil and natural gas supplies now comes from offshore oil deposits around the world. Offshore drilling requires complex engineering. An oil platform can be constructed directly onto the ocean floor, or it can float above an anchor. Depending on how far out on the continental shelf an oil platform is located, workers may have to be flown in. Underwater, or subsea, facilities are complicated groups of drilling equipment connected to each other and a single oil rig. Subsea production often requires remotely operated underwater vehicles, ROVs. Some countries invest in offshore drilling for profit and to prevent reliance on oil from other regions. The Gulf of Mexico near the U.S. states of Texas and Louisiana is heavily drilled. Several European countries, including the United Kingdom, Denmark, and the Netherlands, drill in the North Sea. Offshore drilling is a complicated and expensive program, however. There are a limited number of companies that have the knowledge and resources to work with local governments to set up offshore oil rigs. Most of these companies are based in Europe and North America, although they do business all over the world. Some governments have banned offshore oil drilling. They cite safety and environmental concerns. There have been several accidents where the platform itself has exploded, at the cost of many lives. Offshore drilling also poses threats to the ocean ecosystem. Spills and leaks from oil rigs and oil tankers that transport the material seriously harm marine mammals and birds. Oil coats feathers, impairing birds' ability to maintain their body temperature and remain buoyant in the water. The fur of otters and seals are also coated, and oil entering the digestive tract of animals may damage their organs. Offshore oil rigs also release metal cuttings, minute amounts of oil, and drilling fluid into the ocean every day. Drilling fluid is the liquid used with machinery to drill holes deep in the planet. This liquid can contain pollutants such as toxic chemicals and heavy metals. An estimated 50 to 80% of all life on Earth is found under the ocean surface, and the oceans contain 99% of the living space on the planet. Less than 10% of that space has been explored by humans. 85% of the area and 90% of the volume constitute the dark, cold environment we call the deep sea. The average depth of the ocean is 3,795 m. The average height of the land is 840 m. Currently, scientists have named and successfully classified around 1.5 million species. It is estimated that there are as little as 2 million to as many as 50 million more species that have not yet been found and/or have been incorrectly classified. Source: according to World Register of Marine Species, worms, there are currently at least 236,878 named marine species, January 25, 2021. So, there are at least 236,878 marine species, but there are most likely at least 750,000 marine species, 50% of 1.5 million species, and possibly as many as 25 million marine species, 50% of 50 million species. The oceans cover 71%, and rising, of the Earth's surface and contain 97% of the Earth's water. Less than 1% is fresh water, and 2 to 3% is contained in glaciers and ice caps, and is decreasing. 90% of all volcanic activity occurs in the oceans. The speed of sound in water is 1,435 m/sec, nearly 5 times faster than the speed of sound in air. The highest tides in the world are at the Bay of Fundy, which separates New Brunswick from Nova Scotia. At some times of the year, the difference between high and low tide is 16.3 m, taller than a 3-story building. Earth's longest mountain range is the mid-ocean ridge, more than 50,000 kilometers in length, which winds around the globe from the Arctic Ocean to the Atlantic, skirting Africa, Asia, and Australia, and crossing the Pacific to the west coast of North America. It is 4 times longer than the Andes, Rockies, and Himalayas combined. The pressure at the deepest point in the ocean is more than 11,318 tons/SQM, or the equivalent of one person trying to support 50 jumbo jets. The top 10 feet of the ocean holds as much heat as the entire atmosphere. The lowest known point on Earth, called the Challenger Deep, is 11,034 m deep, in the Marianas Trench in the western Pacific. To get an idea of how deep that is, if you could take Mount Everest and place it at the bottom of the trench, there would still be over a mile of ocean above it. The Dead Sea is the Earth's lowest land point, with an elevation of 396 m below sea level. Undersea earthquakes, volcanoes, and landslides can cause tsunamis, Japanese word meaning harbor wave, or seismic sea waves. The largest recorded tsunami, measured 60 m above sea level, caused by an 8.9 magnitude earthquake in the Gulf of Alaska in 1899, traveling at hundreds of km/h. The average depth of the Atlantic Ocean, with its adjacent seas, is 3,332 m. Without them it is 3,926 m. The greatest depth, 8,381 m, is in the Puerto Rico Trench. The Pacific Ocean, the world's largest water body, occupies a third of the Earth's surface. The Pacific contains about 25,000 islands, more than the total number in the rest of the world's oceans combined, almost all of which are found south of the equator. The Pacific covers an area of 179.7 million square kilometers. The Kuroshio Current, off the shores of Japan, is the largest current. It can travel between 40 to 121 km/day at 1.6 to 4.8 kilometers per hour, and extends some 1,006 m deep. The Gulf Stream is close to this current's speed. The Gulf Stream is a well-known current of warm water in the Atlantic Ocean. At a speed of 97 kilometers per day, the Gulf Stream moves 100 times as much water as all the rivers on Earth and flows at a rate 300 times faster than the Amazon, which is the world's largest river. A given area in an ocean upwelling zone or deep estuary is as productive as the same area in rainforests, most crops, and intensive agriculture. They all produce between 150 to 500 grams of carbon per square meter per year. The sea level has risen with an average of 10 to 25 centimeters over the past 100 years, and scientists expect this rate to increase. Sea levels will continue rising even if the climate has stabilized, because the ocean reacts slowly to changes. 10,000 years ago, the ocean level was about 110 m lower than it is now. If all the world's ice melted, the oceans would rise 66 m. The density of seawater becomes more dense as it becomes colder, right down to its freezing point of -1.9 degrees Celsius, unlike fresh water, which is most dense at 4 degrees Celsius, while above its freezing point of 0 degrees Celsius. The average temperature of all ocean water is about 3.5 degrees Celsius. Antarctica has as much ice as the Atlantic Ocean has water. The Arctic produces 10,000 to 50,000 icebergs annually. The amount produced in the Antarctic regions is inestimable. Icebergs normally have a 4-year lifespan. They begin entering shipping lanes after about 3 years. Air pollution is responsible for 33% of the toxic contaminants that end up in oceans and coastal waters. About 44% of the toxic contaminants come from runoff via rivers and streams. The Great Barrier Reef, measuring 2,300 kilometers in length, covering an area more extensive than Britain, is the largest living structure on Earth and can be seen from space. Its reefs are made up of 400 species of coral, supporting well over 2,000 different fish, 4,000 species of mollusks, and countless other invertebrates. It should really be named Great Barrier of Reefs, as it is not one long solid structure, but made up of nearly 3,000 individual reefs and 1,000 islands. Other huge barrier reefs include the barrier reefs of New Caledonia, the Mesoamerican, Belize, Barrier Reef, and the large barrier reefs of Fiji. The largest coral atoll complexes occur in the Maldives-Lakshadweep ecoregion of the central Indian Ocean and in Micronesia. Fish supply the greatest percentage of the world's protein consumed by humans, and most of the world's major fisheries are being fished at levels above their maximum sustainable yield. Some regions are severely overfished. More than 90% of the trade between countries is carried by ships, and about half the communications between nations use underwater cables. Swordfish and marlin are the fastest fish in the ocean, reaching speeds up to 121 kilometers per hour in quick bursts. Bluefin tuna, Thunus thinus, may reach sustained speeds up to 90 kilometers per hour. Blue whales are the largest animals on our planet ever, exceeding the size of the greatest known dinosaurs, and have hearts the size of small cars. Oarfish, Regalicus glesn, are the longest bony fish in the world. They have a snake-like body sporting a magnificent red fin and can grow up to 17 m in length. They have a distinctive horse-like face and blue gills, and are thought to account for many sea serpent sightings. Many fish can change sex during the course of their lives. Others, especially rare deep-sea fish, have both male and female sex organs. One study of a deep-sea community revealed 898 species from more than 100 families and a dozen phyla in an area about half the size of a tennis court. More than half of these were new to science. Life began in the ocean 3.1 billion to 3.4 billion years ago. Land dwellers appeared approximately 400 million years ago, relatively recently in geologic time. Because the architecture and chemistry of coral is so similar to human bone, coral has been used to replace bone grafts in helping human bone to heal quickly and cleanly. Got an interesting fact about marine life you'd like us to add to the above? Post it in the comments below. The realm below the surface of the water, where the water remains in a natural state like in oceans, ponds, lakes, etc., form the underwater. Almost 3/4 of the surface of the Earth is covered by water. Humans are engaged in a number of activities conducted underwater, like scuba diving, research, etc. But however, almost a majority of the underwater still remains unexplored and is expected to have several million undiscovered species of flora and fauna. Characteristics of underwater life. Man cannot survive underwater because there is too much pressure at that level, which makes breathing extremely difficult. The density of water also causes many difficulties at that level. As the underwater depth increases, the visible light starts diminishing. The color spectrum is speedily altered with increase in depth. In greater depths underwater, the temperature remains very low because of minimal heat energy reaching that level. Sound also travels almost 4 times faster in that level. Flora. The vast number of plant species underwater forms a beautiful ecosystem. The plants which stay underwater depend upon the light coming from the sun for their growth. They also draw the atmospheric carbon dioxide from the air above and convert them into oxygen. The flora below the surface of the water adds to the aesthetic beauty. These plants sometimes span vast lengths below the surface of the ocean. Fauna. The microscopic organisms which remain in the sunlit areas of the underwater surface are called phytoplankton. They depend upon the minerals for survival. Phytoplankton serves as the basic food of the aquatic animals. Other creatures existing underwater are fish, sharks, whales, sea snakes, jellyfish, smaller aquatic animals, etc. These creatures have built-in gills for breathing, and their eyes enable them to look forward as well as sideways. Some of the creatures found underwater are carnivorous in nature and eat other aquatic animals for their survival. Richness of underwater life. The life underwater is no less rich than the life on the surface of the water or the terrestrial life. The aesthetic beauty of underwater life is one of the prominent features. Coral reefs are splendid examples of the aesthetic beauty of underwater life. These span the length, which extends to kilometers at a stretch. The underwater life also provides man with a variety of minerals and other resources for consumption. Terrestrial life has certain disadvantages which are absent in the life underwater. Life underwater is one of the most exciting things in the world. The same is characterized by plants which exist in a wide variety, aquatic animals which are both dangerous and sober, microscopic organisms which are the basic food of the animals. Even the largest mammal in the world, the blue whale, resides in the oceans. Thus, life underwater is a part of the life on Earth. The turquoise waters battered lightly against my sleek and pristine canoe, making it seesaw precariously as I maintained balance, like walking a slack rope. I calmly pulled on my blue spandex suit with practiced efficiency, and prepped my mini oxygen support before taking a scrutinizing look at the depth of the sea. Plush! I dived headfirst and broke the frothing barrier as the burbling of water covered my ears and I segued into another world. The water was cold. I could feel it around my face, but the suit trapped a flimsy layer of warm air that kept me snug. Looking through my crystal-clear goggles as the radiance of the sun permeated the ocean floor, I could see underwater as clear as the morning sky. A couple of delicate strokes in my azure flippers propelled me towards the magnificent coral reef embedded at the bottom. Air bubbles kept obscuring my view as I took deep breaths that resonated in my ears like a sick person gasping for air. The reef was an underwater paradise. A large, living and breathing structure consisting of a plethora of unimaginable organisms that survived in harmony. It was pure aesthetic scenery. The base was a large structure resembling a huge porous rock, but it was barely perceivable. There was a lurid cornucopia of sea life riveted onto it. I could identify some crimson-red anemones that swayed from side to side as waves of current surged through the ocean floor. Some goldfish hidden with them, seeking succor from predators that wished to devour this divine being. A sea turtle gracefully swam up from behind. A patchy green shell that held a record of its growth and struggles, a dusky yellow body with a multitude of black spots interspersed along it. It was a survivor of the sea with its ability to live for decades amidst all the danger that lurked in every corner. A stingray had meticulously camouflaged itself under the fine grains of sand, waiting in ambush as a silvery gray salmon mindlessly drifted too close. A smoke of dust and the salmon lied convulsing in the sand, electrocuted by its deadly sting. The ocean covers 70% of Earth's surface. It contains about 1.35 billion cubic kilometers, 324 million cubic miles, of water, which is about 97% of all the water on Earth. The ocean makes all life on Earth possible, and makes the planet appear blue when viewed from space. Earth is the only planet in our solar system that is definitely known to contain liquid water. Although the ocean is one continuous body of water, oceanographers have divided it into 5 principal areas: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and Southern Oceans. The Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Oceans merge into icy waters around Antarctica. The ocean plays a vital role in climate and weather. The sun's heat causes water to evaporate, adding moisture to the air. The oceans provide most of this evaporated water. The water vapor condenses to form clouds, which release their moisture as rain or other kinds of precipitation. All life on Earth depends on this process, called the water cycle. The atmosphere receives much of its heat from the ocean. As the sun warms the water, the ocean transfers heat to the atmosphere. In turn, the atmosphere distributes the heat around the globe. Because water absorbs and loses heat more slowly than land masses, the ocean helps balance global temperatures by absorbing heat in the summer and releasing it in the winter. Without the ocean to help regulate global temperatures, Earth's climate would be bitterly cold. Ocean formation. After Earth began to form about 4.6 billion years ago, it gradually separated into layers of lighter and heavier rock. The lighter rock rose and formed Earth's crust. The heavier rock sank and formed Earth's core and mantle. The ocean's water came from rocks inside the newly forming Earth. As the molten rocks cooled, they released water vapor and other gases. Eventually, the water vapor condensed and covered the crust with a primitive ocean. Today, hot gases from the Earth's interior continue to produce new water at the bottom of the ocean. Ocean floor. Scientists began mapping the ocean floor in the 1920s. They used instruments called echo sounders, which measure water depths using sound waves. Echo sounders use sonar technology. Sonar is an acronym for sound navigation and ranging. The sonar showed that the ocean floor has dramatic physical features, including huge mountains, deep canyons, steep cliffs, and wide plains.